Well, I think the launch of the team created a foundation for the future. David Blitzer had a vision shortly into the inaugural season in 2024 to find a local owner who could really take this club to where he believed and we believed it can be. And we're so excited to have the Miller family at the helm. And so it is different. It's different because the team's actually playing. It's different because there's a sense of warmth and optimism around the locker room. I spent the day yesterday with the staff and with the players, and they're just so excited to have the investment from the Miller family, who are, I don't need to tell you all, iconic in this community. And so we know from our decades of experience in sports that the ingredients for a successful franchise start with ownership. And having committed ownership who are local and have connections in the community is the key to success.
This team is still pretty new. How do you see this ownership change maybe helping to grow the Royals here in this community?
Well, their vision is to enrich the lives of the local community. And I actually can't think of a better asset to do that than the Utah Royals. These are the best athletes in the world, and they happen to be women. And so, in a world where you have the highest participation rate in soccer, and I believe it's 60% of those participants are young girls, to be able to inspire them and know that they can dream of playing not just in high school and not just in college, but actually play professionally and be paid what they're worth as we're continuing to grow this business. It will transform the community. It will create a world that I know the Miller family and we believe should be, which is a place where when you work hard and you lead with humility and you collaborate with people, that you can achieve greatness. And those are all the things that we stand for.
And speaking of that, there's international market, right, for women's players in a way that there didn't used to be 5, 10 years ago, and transfer fees and everything else. How does NWSL play a role with that, and how does that change? Kind of getting you mentioned kind of the best players who played for the USWNT, with this Royal squad 5 years ago. How do you get kind of those same players to Utah and in the league?
Well, you have at least one of them already
Sure.
in Ali Sentnor. Your goalkeeper is a pretty regular call up on the U.S. Women's National Team. And look, I think not different from when you're building a company that is a more traditional workplace. People want to be in the places where they can be challenged and they can develop and they can thrive. And so, with this ownership change, I think you will see Utah continue to be a place where people want to be. We also know that this team just launched in 2024, and there was a half a season only where they actually had their training facility open. And this training facility, which is actually the place where the players spend the majority of their time, is one of the best in our league. And so those are the ingredients that are going to attract top talent. And so with the stability that this ownership group has, with the connectivity in the community, with the bespoke and intentional investment that they're going to put into the Royals specifically, not just spread across both franchises, but isolated and specific and intentional to the Royals, I think you're going to see a team that's going to thrive.
NWSL's growth, what's your anticipation of markets like this remaining relevant when you have bigger markets that come into the league? That makes sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's, as I've learned about this market and this state over the last few years, it's become clear to me that it is the fastest growing state from a GDP and economic perspective in the country. It is the youngest state in the country. And when you think about the sport of soccer, the age of our players, and the future fans, this is a place where soccer will thrive. We also know that the values and the interests of people who live here in Utah very much align with our league. Our league is a place where families come and enjoy and thrive in our stadiums, and our athletes are ambassadors in the community. They are the people who stay for as long as it takes for every single person in the stadium to have their jersey signed or their selfies taken. And those are the kinds of pillars of the community that create the dynamic that you heard people talking about in the press conference, which is that sport is one of the few things that bring people together. And in a world where there's a lot of friction and a lot of challenge, we hope that the NWSL and the Utah Royals can be a ray of light.
Time for one more.
Good ownership is good ownership, but does it mean maybe a little bit more in a women's league run that's getting to be more run by women, I guess, to have strong female leaders like a Michelle King or a Gail Miller now kind of come into the league and invest and really sort of prioritize the women's side of women's work?
It really allows for us to live our values, to have our boardroom reflect the the way in which we choose to lead, and having women who can actually not only drive the strategy of our league but have the resources to invest is something really unique. And I don't know that this could have been true 10, 15, 20 years ago. To be at a point now where the majority of our boardroom and people around the league, from a team president perspective, from a GM perspective, and from an ownership perspective, are women, really allows for our players who are our product to feel like there's a synergy that exists where decisions are being made with the product on the pitch. And so, yeah, I talked about Gail Miller, and I talked about how inspired we are by her and the way in which she's approached business, and being a community leader is, I think, something that we all aspire to.